When Tucker Carlson or Megyn Kelly are trending on X, it's never for a good reason. And today they're trending because Carlson took a shot that was so low and vile, he indicted himself instantly by admitting to his idiocy.
I definitely shouldn't suggest what I'm suggesting without evidence.
And I have the full story for you next. Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly are two clearly educated people, but when they pander to the lowest common denominator within their audience, their conversations quickly descend into places that evoke these kinds of emotions. Southern Sister Resistor said, Walz should file a defamation lawsuit against Tucker Carlson today, period. Michael Kerrigan, MD, commented, Tucker Carlson's despicable accusation regarding Tim Walz is an example of what psychologists refer to as projection. And James Patrick said, sleaziest guy on TV, a man that has admitted multiple times that he lies and he's going to be believed? LOL. So what did Carlson say that conjures up feelings of defamation, projection, and sleaze? I'll have the pinnacle of his slander against Tim Walz in just a minute, but first, let's look at another low point in their conversation when they try to make the case that Tim Walz's fatherly persona is bad for America.
Now, I mean, they're trying to style him, as I said, into our dad. That was actually, I think, a Politico tweet. You're America's dad. I mean, it's like, no, we're good. And they're calling her Mamala, our dad and our Mamala. I'm like, these Democrats, like really seriously looking for new parent figures in the absence of good ones of their own, I suppose. And I do wonder, like, what's wrong with us? Because most of us don't need new parents and aren't looking to some politician to step into the breach.
In just a few seconds, I will play Carlson's vile accusation against Walz. But first, have a listen as Megyn Kelly, with zero self-awareness, attempts to make a joke, but instead explains the reason for Walz's massive appeal at this moment in time. And then they take a shot at Doug Emhoff, Kamala Harris's husband, for also committing the outrageous crime of being fatherly.
And now today's line in the wake of the Tim Walz speech is, he is the definition of the non-toxic male. He's the anti-you, Tucker. He's the anti-Trump. He's the anti-JD Vance. He's like the soft man who still coaches football. I'll give you
And Doug Emhoff, his daughter, comes out on stage. I'm trying not to be mean, but like, I look at Doug Emhoff's daughter, miserable, covered in tattoos, and I'm like, anyone who has a child like that should not have political power, because you've messed up enough. Do you know what I mean? I mean, like, I do think that your personal life really matters. If you don't have a spouse who loves and respects you, if you don't have children who love and respect you, I feel sorry for you, but you definitely Tucker, can't have control over my life, because
Doug
you have
Emhoff,
not done a good job.
So he's the one. I mean, yes, there's a million articles calling Tim Walz our new dad and saying he's the kind of guy who would fix your flat tire for you. But Political, the most recent one, was about Doug Emhoff. That's who it was. And they called him the headline was Meet Doug Emhoff, Dad in Chief. This is sick. Why are they looking at these men as like their new daddy figures?
And now for Carlson's bizarre and defamatory comment against Tim Walz that seems to stun even Megyn Kelly, and then watch as he appears to scramble to cover himself.
And I don't want to be mean. I've already said I don't want to be mean, but like that Walz guy is a creep. I'm just telling you that as someone who went to boarding school in the 80s. Like, I know exactly who that guy is. And I'm sorry. It's just, I hope I'm wrong. I don't think I am. And
I mean, honestly, Tucker, why is he so obsessed with transing children, making it possible for them to separate from their parents and have their body parts chopped off? Hello?
Yeah. Well, I lived in a boys' dorm in a New England boarding school in the 1980s with a lot of guys like Tim Walz. Okay. So I saw that guy and I'm like, oh, wow, I know exactly. You're a creeper, as we used to call him, for sure. And, I guess I probably shouldn't. I definitely shouldn't suggest what I'm suggesting without evidence. I don't have evidence beyond what I've seen. So I just want to say that I'm probably, again,
do you mean like a pervert? Like, when you say creepy, like,
there's something wrong with that guy. He's a weirdo. And you can tell watching him.
The first time I saw that clip, I thought I saw instant regret with Carlson trying to put the words back in his mouth, but then I found this other recent interview where he takes the despicable narrative even further, showing that it's a calculated talking point.
It's so funny to live in a society where you have to like deny obvious things. I look at Tim Walz, I'm like, oh, I know exactly who you are. Like instantly. I went to boarding school. I know who Tim Walz is. Are you kidding? Oh, yes. Oh, I had a couple doormasters like Tim Walz for sure.
Well, he did
show up in your room late night drunk to talk about stuff. Yeah.
Tucker Carlson represents one of the very worst results of Donald Trump and the MAGA movement and the extreme impact it's had on right-wing media. But I have good news. Better days are ahead. Henry Rollins is quoted as saying, "In many ways, America has been on the receiving end of a pendulum that has been swung with great force and for a long time outward into the world. The impact is a wake-up call on every level." I think the Trump presidency and the toxicity he normalized was a wake-up call for our society. We took one step backwards, and now it's time to take 2 steps forward. I'm Dan. Thanks for watching, and let's continue to occupy democracy together.